They walked into schools where children should have been safe and opened fire without mercy. We're covering 10 of the most evil teenage school shooters in history. One 16-year-old shot at elementary children because she didn't like Mondays. Another posted her manifesto online before slaughtering classmates. A teen smiled in court wearing a killer shirt at his sentencing. From Columbine to Russia, these cases span decades and continents. All were teenagers, some just 14, who planned calculated attacks on innocent students and teachers. Before we expose these cases, hit subscribe and comment what time you're watching and where you're from. Let's meet the first shooter who brought terror to an elementary school playground. 1. Brenda Spencer. Brenda Spencer was 16 when she opened fire on an elementary school playground. From San Diego, California, Brenda was a troubled teen living with her father. For Christmas, she asked for a radio but received a .22 caliber rifle with ammunition instead. She struggled with depression, had a gun fascination, and no close friends. She lived directly across from Cleveland Elementary School, giving her the perfect vantage point for what became America's first modern female school shooting on January 29, 1979. Her victims were 53-year-old Principal Burton Ragg and 56-year-old custodian Mike Suchar, who died protecting students. 8 children ages 6 to 12 were wounded. Brenda didn't attend Cleveland Elementary. These victims were strangers. Both men died as heroes trying to shield kids from bullets. That Monday morning, students arrived for a normal day. Brenda opened her bedroom window, aimed her rifle at the playground, and opened fire. Principal Ragg ran to protect students and was shot in the stomach and back. Custodian Suchar rushed to help and was also killed. 8 children were wounded. Police surrounded her house for a 6-hour standoff. A reporter called Brenda's home, and she answered. When asked why she did it, Brenda said, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day." She showed no remorse and eventually surrendered. Brenda was charged as an adult with 2 counts of murder and assault. She pleaded guilty and received 25 years to life. Multiple parole hearings have been denied. Victims' families oppose her release. She remains incarcerated in California. 2. Natalie Samantha Rupnow. Natalie Rupnow, known as Samantha, was 15 when she carried out one of America's most recent school shootings on December 16, 2024. From Madison, Wisconsin, Natalie attended Abundant Life Christian School. She posted a manifesto online before the shooting, showing clear premeditation. Isolated from peers and struggling with mental health issues, investigators believe she was radicalized through dark social media content. Her victims were people she saw daily: a teacher killed immediately, a student who also died, and 6 others wounded. In this small Christian school, these weren't strangers. Natalie knew them personally, making this a targeted attack on her own community. That Monday morning, classes were in session when Natalie entered armed with a handgun. She opened fire, killing a teacher and student while wounding 6 others. Students ran as teachers protected kids, and police were called. Before officers arrived, Natalie shot herself. Investigators found the manifesto she'd posted online beforehand, explaining her reasoning and showing planning. Though no clear motive emerged, it revealed mental health struggles and possible online radicalization that led to this tragedy. Because Natalie died by suicide, there was no trial. The investigation continues as authorities analyze her manifesto and investigate how she obtained the gun. Her parents are being questioned, with possible charges pending for weapon access. The case is still developing. 3. Alina Dmitrievna Afanaskina. Alina Dmitrievna Afanaskina was 14 when she became one of Russia's youngest school shooters in December 2023. School shootings are rare in Russia, making this particularly shocking. Alina was a troubled, bullied student with documented depression. She had access to her father's guns and showed detailed planning in her attack. One classmate, victim 14-year-old Maria Nesmakhnaya, was killed, several others injured. Some were bullies, but many were innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. The selection seemed random, driven by her general hatred toward the school environment. She blamed everyone for her suffering. In September 2023, Alina brought her father's gun to school in the Bryansk region. During a regular school day, she entered a classroom and opened fire. Students and teachers were shot as chaos erupted. Students fled while others were trapped in classrooms. Security and police responded quickly, and Alina was apprehended. Victims were rushed to hospitals, but several died while many were wounded. School shootings being so rare in Russia, this shocked the entire nation. Investigators examined how she accessed her father's weapon. A manifesto was later found where Alina blamed bullying and society for pushing her to violence. She died by suicide at the scene immediately after killing a classmate. Because of her death during the incident, there were no legal proceedings, sentencing, there was no trial made against her. 4. Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. Eric Harris, 18, and Dylan Klebold, 17, carried out the deadliest school shooting in American history at the time. On April 20, 1999, these Columbine High students executed a plan developed over a year. They built bombs and documented everything in journals. Eric displayed psychopathic traits while Dylan showed severe depression. Outcasts at school, both were obsessed with violence and planned to die by suicide after killing hundreds. Their victims included 13 people, 12 students and teacher Dave Sanders, plus 24 wounded. These were their own classmates and teacher. While some may have been bullies, most were innocent students in the library or cafeteria. Teacher Sanders died helping students escape. On April 20, 1999, intentionally, Hitler's birthday, Eric and Dylan arrived at Columbine armed with bombs, guns, and ammunition. Their bombs failed. If they'd worked, hundreds would have died. When bombs didn't detonate, they started shooting in the cafeteria, then moved to the library where students hid under tables. They taunted victims, asking about beliefs before shooting. Teacher Sanders bled out, helping students evacuate. Police response was slow. When SWAT finally entered, they found Eric and Dylan had committed suicide in the library. 13 dead, 21 wounded. This shooting changed America forever, revolutionizing school safety protocols nationwide. Columbine remains the most infamous school shooting in history. Both died by suicide, so there was no trial. Extensive investigation examined how they obtained weapons and built bombs. Parents were questioned. Journals and videotapes revealed planning depth and warning signs that had been ignored. 5. Salvador Ramos. Salvador Ramos was 18 when he committed one of America's most horrific school shootings, targeting elementary children in Uvalde, Texas. On May 24, 2022, this recent high school graduate with a troubled background exposed catastrophic law enforcement failures. He had a documented history of violence, including animal cruelty, and made online threats. Ramos bought guns legally on his 18th birthday despite warning signs everywhere. That morning, he shot his grandmother first, took her truck, and headed to Robb Elementary. His victims were 19 children ages 9 to 11 and 2 teachers, Ava Mireles and Irma Garcia, in a 4th grade classroom, plus 17 others were injured, including students, teachers, and police officers. These babies didn't know him. The teachers died as heroes protecting their students. 19 families were destroyed in one day. Ramos shot his grandmother, then crashed her truck near the school. He entered through an unlocked door and barricaded himself in a 4th grade classroom. He opened fire, killing 19 children and 2 teachers. Here's the horror. Police waited outside for 77 minutes while children died inside. Parents begged officers to enter, but they held them back. Children called 911, pleading for help. Eventually, Border Patrol agents, not local police, went in and killed Ramos. Children had bled out waiting for help that came too late. This represents the worst police failure in modern American history. The nation was horrified not just by the shooting but by how preventable more deaths could have been. Ramos was killed by Border Patrol, so there was no trial. Investigations led to multiple officers being fired or resigning. Lawsuits were filed against police and the school district. The DOJ launched an investigation. Families continued demanding accountability and justice. Uvalde was destroyed. Texas mourned, and the nation was outraged by both the shooting and police failure. The gun debate reignited. The elementary school targeting was especially painful. The community has never recovered from ongoing trauma. 6. T.J. Lane. T.J. Lane was 17 when he opened fire in a Chardon, Ohio high school cafeteria. On February 27, 2012, T.J. came from a troubled, abusive background. He attended alternative school but came to Chardon High for a program. He brought a gun and planned a cafeteria attack during breakfast, showing no remorse afterward. His courtroom behavior shocked everyone. He smiled constantly and wore a killer shirt to sentencing, demonstrating pure sociopathy. His victims were 3 dead students and 3 wounded. 16-year-old Dimitrios Pagourtzis, 17-year-old Russell King Jr., and 16-year-old Daniel Palmerta died eating breakfast before classes. These weren't close friends, just acquaintances in the wrong place at the wrong time. That Monday morning, students gathered in the cafeteria before classes. TJ entered and drew a .22 pistol, opening fire. Students scattered as 3 were killed instantly and 3 wounded. Teacher Frank Hall chased TJ away, potentially saving more lives. TJ fled school and police caught him nearby. During trial, TJ showed no emotion, smiling constantly. At sentencing, he wore a white killer shirt, gave victims' families the middle finger, and made an obscene statement. "This hand that pulled the trigger that killed your sons now F times kiss your daughters." His psychopathic behavior showed zero remorse for murdering 3 teenagers. TJ was tried as an adult and received 3 consecutive life sentences without parole. He's currently incarcerated in Ohio, maximum security. In 2014, he briefly escaped but was recaptured the same day. He will die in prison, never having shown remorse. 7. Jaylen Ray Fryberg. Jaylen Ray Fryberg was 15 when he committed a shooting that shocked everyone. On October 24, 2014, in Marysville, Washington, Jaylen was homecoming prince, popular student, and well-liked football player. Nobody suspected violence capability. However, recent heartbreak from a girl's rejection led to depression, shown in social media posts that were ignored. He had access to his father's pistol and planned a cafeteria attack targeting specific students before killing himself. His victims were his own friends and cousins. 14-year-old Zoe Galasso, 14-year-old Gia Soriano, and 14-year-old Shaylee Chukalnaskit died. His cousin Andrew Fryberg, 15, and cousin Nate Hatch, 14, were wounded but survived. These were people at his lunch table his regular group specifically targeted, apparently blamed for his heartbreak. During Friday lunch at Marysville Pilchuck High School, the cafeteria was packed with students. Jaylen sat at his usual table with friends and cousins. Suddenly, he stood, drew his father's pistol, and shot 5 people point blank, all at his own table. Students scattered as chaos erupted. Jaylen then shot himself, dying instantly. 5 victims were rushed to hospitals. 3, Zoe, Gia, and Shaylee died from their injuries, while Andrew and Nate survived. The community was shocked because Jaylen was popular, the homecoming prince. Looking back, social media posts showed depression and heartbreak warnings that everyone had missed. This was a preventable tragedy that destroyed multiple families. Jaylen died by suicide, so there was no trial. Investigation focused on how he accessed his father's weapon and potential school security failures. His concerning social media posts were examined to understand why nobody intervened. Families filed lawsuits against the school district for missing warning signs. 8. Dimitrios Pagourtzis. Dimitrios Pagourtzis was 17 when he carried out a shooting at Santa Fe High School, leaving 10 dead and 13 wounded. On May 18, 2018, this junior was a quiet student who wore trench coats and posted Nazi imagery online, including a Born to Kill shirt. His journal documented attack plans. Dimitrios wanted fame, studied other shooters, used his father's guns, and built bombs. Unlike many, he planned to survive, surrender, and tell his story for notoriety. Victims included 8 students and 2 teachers. 16-year-old Shana Fisher was his primary target after rejecting his advances. Teachers Ann Perkins and Cynthia Tisdale died protecting students. Among victims was Sabika Sheikh, a Pakistani exchange student in the wrong place at the wrong time. On May 18, 2018, Dimitrios entered first period art class wearing his trench coat. He drew his father's shotgun and opened fire, targeting Shana Fisher primarily, but quickly shooting randomly at other students. 2 teachers died protecting kids. The fire alarm was pulled and students evacuated. Dimitrios barricaded himself in the art room where he'd planted bombs. Fortunately, none detonated. Police arrived and a standoff ensued. Dimitrios exchanged gunfire with officers, wounding one, before eventually surrendering because he wanted to survive, to tell his story and gain the notoriety he sought. 10 were dead and 13 wounded. This occurred just months after Parkland. Feeling like an endless cycle of school violence America couldn't stop, Dimitrios was charged with capital murder. At 17, he was tried as an adult but found incompetent for trial. He was sent to a mental institution for ongoing evaluation. No trial has occurred yet, meaning victims' families are still waiting for justice years later. The case remains pending. 9. Desmond Holly. Desmond Holly was 16 when he carried out a shooting at Evergreen High School, Colorado, on September 2025. A quiet teen with few friends, Desmond had a troubled background including mental health issues. He had gun access and brought a pistol to school in a planned, not impulsive, attack. He targeted specific victims, shooting 2 classmates in the hallway. The incident was caught on surveillance, showing premeditation and deliberate actions. His 2 victims were fellow Heritage High students, a 17-year-old boy shot in the face and a 17-year-old girl shot in the leg. Both survived, though seriously wounded. Evidence suggests they were possibly targeted specifically, though they weren't close friends. Both recovered physically, but carry psychological trauma. On September 20, 2021, students moved through hallways between classes when Desmond drew his pistol and opened fire. He shot the boy in the face and girl in the leg. Both fell as students scattered in terror. Teachers immediately locked classroom doors as the school went into lockdown. Desmond fled the immediate area after shooting. Police arrived quickly, found the wounded victims, and transported them to the hospital where both survived their injuries. Desmond was located and surrendered peacefully without further incident. Surveillance footage captured everything, showing Desmond's premeditation and the calculated way he carried out the attack. The video evidence proved crucial in prosecuting the case, demonstrating that he had concealed the weapon until the exact moment he chose to use it. Desmond Holly died by a self-inflicted gunshot at the scene of the shooting. He died at the scene. There is no record of him being tried, convicted, or given a sentence of years imprisonment. 10. Michael Slobodian. Michael Slobodian was 16 when he became Canada's first school shooter on May 28, 1975. At Brebeuf School in Brampton, Ontario, Michael was troubled, struggling with poor grades and social isolation. An outcast with few friends, he was angry at school, the educational system, and teachers he blamed for his failures. He had access to his father's rifles and chose the last day of school for revenge before taking his own life on the school roof. His victims included John Slinger, a student, Margaret Wright, a teacher, and photography teacher Robert David Smith, wounded but survived. Michael had specifically targeted teachers he blamed for academic failures. On the last day of school at Centennial Secondary, final exams were ending and students anticipated summer break. Michael brought 2 of his father's rifles into the building. He went to the 3rd floor and started shooting, targeting teachers, particularly photography teacher Robert Smith, whom he blamed for academic struggles. Smith was shot but survived. Student John Sling was also killed, simply in the wrong place when shooting started. Michael continued through hallways as students fled in terror. When police arrived at the school, Michael made his way to the building's roof, where he turned one of the rifles on himself and died by suicide. Canada's first school shooting shocked the nation. Because Michael died by suicide, there was no trial. Investigation focused on how he accessed his father's weapons and whether anyone should be held accountable for failing to secure the rifles. Warning signs were examined: failing grades, documented depression, and social isolation. 10 teenage school shooters brought unimaginable terror to places meant to be safe. These cases span decades and continents, but share common threads: troubled teens with weapon access, warning signs missed or ignored, and innocent victims whose only crime was attending school. Some shooters died by suicide, others served life sentences, but all destroyed countless lives. Victims, students, teachers, staff were simply trying to learn and educate. Their families are forever changed. Communities remain traumatized for generations. These tragedies remind us that school safety, mental health awareness, and responsible gun ownership are critical issues we cannot ignore. If this opened your eyes, hit like, share, and subscribe. Comment what time you're watching, where you're from, and which case impacted you most. Thanks for watching. Remember the victims, not the killers.